Okay, so let's make sure that the camera's working, make sure the volume's down so you don't hear me double. You're already hearing one of me. You don't need to hear two of me. All right, so we're up, we're good to go. And here we have another DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is from the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. Burn! Yes. I'm Bane, that's my name. You hear the name, Bane, I guarantee you the pain. I'm coming after you, Bruce Wayne. I'm stronger, smarter, clinically insane. Yeah, we got Bane to open up today. Dark Knight Rises version of Bane. There's a nice image of Tom Hardy on the back from one of the movie posters. And, this was originally a Build-A-Figure that came with an entire wave of Dark Knight trilogy figures. There was the Batman in his Dark Knight armor, the movie Dark Knight armor, the Heath Ledger Joker, the Scarecrow in his straight jacket type outfit, and Two-Face. And I was never able to find any of those figures at all, not even online. Sometimes I could find some for like exorbitant prices online, but you know how it is. But since they did a new version of Scarecrow where he was just wearing the suit, so I was able to get Scarecrow, and they did a Batman Begins version of Batman, which I usually feel like this one works better as an action figure than the Dark Knight armor anyway. So I do have a Christian Bale Batman. And of course, on the last episode, I opened up the Heath Ledger Joker. So really, I kind of feel like I only have to get Two-Face now out of the ones that they made. And hopefully, maybe they'll squeeze out some more. It'd be nice to have a Ra's al Ghul before the line ends. But if not, hey, I did get like a couple of extra Lex Luthors. So, we can I can probably make my own. Because I know I've got, I haven't printed one out, but I know I have the files that I can print out a Liam Neeson Ra's al Ghul head. So that'll be one more. It'd be nice to have the Ken Watanabe version of Ra's al Ghul, which in my head canon, that's Ubu, but whatever. Anyway, I really liked the design they came up with for Bane in the movie. Bane is, in my opinion, the last great Batman villain. There hasn't been a Batman villain since that I feel like can really measure up to Bane. Like, they've tried to make some great Batman villains since then. You've got like Hush and like the Court of Owls and things like that. But Bane, I kind of feel like, was the last really great Batman villain. And you can make an argument for Harley Quinn as, being the last great Batman villain too. They came out around the same time, but, Harley, as great a character as she is, I kind of don't feel like she's as great a Batman villain as Bane. You might argue that Harley is a better character, and I wouldn't argue back with you, honestly. I'd probably be like, yeah, that's you got a valid point there. She's a great character, but in terms of like literally being a villain for Batman, yeah, Bane's gonna take the cake on that one. So let's go ahead and open him up. And he is the deluxe theatrical edition. We'll go ahead and have a look at that. And you can see that much like the Joker, he has his own unique color for that. Usually the deluxe theatrical editions, those have had like blue foil on the packaging, but he has silver foil. And the Joker had purple foil. But, all the Superman 2025 movie figures and the Batman Returns figures and the recent Christopher Reeve reissue that I opened up on a recent episode, all of those had blue foil. This one has silver foil. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that decision was made, but it was a decision that was made, wasn't it? So let's go ahead and get this out of here, out of this plastic bag. It's the little display card. And they've got some little stands to hold this up. So we'll have a look at those in a second. But here we got the artwork from the same artwork that we saw on the back of the package with from one of the movie posters. But this is the image I actually think is a lot cooler, with Bane walking away from the shattered Batman cowl. And I did love in the movie, like when he defeats Batman and he just shatters, throttles his head against the ground, shatters the cowl, and he's walking away with this shattered Batman cowl, and he just kind of tosses it to the side like it's nothing. Like any other director would have probably done like some dramatic thing where Bane like flings the thing away in some theatrical way, but Christopher Nolan's like, nah, man, it's like it's nothing to him. And I think that was one of the things that was really cool about Bane in this movie, is he wasn't like an especially theatrical guy. He just kind of was what he was, and kind of part of what made Bane this work. This version of Bane was just that Bane just did not give a shit. He was not fronting. He was not trying to put up anything. He just was what he was. And it's like a lot of people were critical of Bane's voice, and like I kind of like the way that Bane would like just kind of talk kind of casually, and sometimes his voice would kind of crack, and he just didn't care. He just was what he was, and that was really cool. Mauro Bastianini is here and says, "Hi, Alan. Greetings from Caracas." Well, hi to you. Greetings from the United States. Good to see you again. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the stuff in this package. I kind of feel like this is another one where, like, the Joker at least had like a ton of extra like guns and stuff in there. Bane's just got some extra hands. That's the only accessories he has. This probably didn't need to be as expensive a figure as it was, if we're being honest. But maybe the quality will make up for it. I don't know. But I'm going to say that this one falls into the category of being overpriced. I kind of feel like at least with the Joker, the extra added accessories gave it some extra added value. We don't normally get an arsenal of weapons like that with a Mcfarlane figure. But, maybe they could have included him like an extra soft goods jacket or something like that to give it some extra value. But unfortunately, no, we didn't get that. And then we'll have a look at those hands in a second. And then there's the Dark Knight Trilogy trading card stand. So you can put the trading card in that. And we can see it is identical to the one that came with the Joker. All right, so let's set that aside. And I still got some more stuff in this package to talk about. And once again, they've done the thing that I really like, which is to have the action figure stand on the same blister as the trading card. So that way it makes it a lot easier for me to get this trading card out of the package. Come on. Don't make a liar out of me now. And Bane doesn't have the Joker had, that Dark Knight logo in the back. Bane doesn't really have anything all that fancy. It's just kind of like looks like a cement wall. Kind of reminds me, like stylistically at least, of the prison that he was in. So go ahead and put that back in there. Be one less thing to do later anyway. Oh, man. Yeah, I got to go to work early today, so I wasn't sure if I was even going to do an episode, but I woke up early and I couldn't get back to sleep. And I did want to make sure I got this figure opened at some point in the near future. So I figured I might as well do it right now while I can't get back to sleep. If my only options are doing a YouTube video and lying around in bed trying to sleep and failing miserably, I might as well just do the YouTube video, right? At least you guys out there are getting some entertainment out of it. I have to assume you're getting some kind of entertainment out of it. You're watching it right now, aren't you? All right, so then we have, these are the little stands for the big card, the movie poster card, so you can display that behind your figure if you want to. And I'm going to put the other cards that I have down here, the ones for Superman the movie and the Joker's card for the Dark Knight. All right. And then Bane himself. And it looks like Bane is just held in with a single double rubber tab that's around his waist. So I'll go ahead and just cut that at the back. See, now I'm actually starting to feel kind of tired and like I could have gone back to sleep. So I'll probably try to take a little bit of a nap once I finish this up. Thankfully, it was at just a time where like I kind of feel like if I got tired, I could take a little bit of a nap afterwards. Maybe just like an hour or so before I got to go to work. And it still didn't cut that rubber tab quite enough. So here's Bane out of the package. I'm wondering how easily he'll come apart since he was a Build-A-Figure originally. And man, he's got that thing going on where like the vest is like a separate rubber piece. You can hear that rubber where the soft plastic where it's kind of rubbing up against the pants go up kind of high underneath where the vest is. So I don't think there's like an abdominal piece on here, but there's probably like an extra joint there, but it's not really gonna be noticeable to use. But he's a really cool looking figure, and there's a lot of good paint detail on this figure. Max Games and Toys is here and says, "The Mighty Alan." Yes. Good to see you, friend. All right, so let's go ahead and get a look at him next to Christian Bale. And you can see he's like just slightly taller than Batman. And in real life, Tom Hardy, I believe, is only 5'10". I forget how tall Christian Bale is. Let's see how tall Christian Bale is. I think he might be over 6 feet. Christian Bale height. Yeah, he's 6 foot. Christian Bale is 6 foot even. Heath Ledger is 6'1", so he's slightly taller, and Tom Hardy is 5'10". So it's not really accurate to real life that Tom Hardy would be taller than Christian Bale. But I feel like that works for the movie. Like, you know, just because Tom Hardy is shorter than Christian Bale doesn't mean that Bane isn't taller than Batman. Max Games and Toys says, didn't you get the past Bane Build-A-Figure? No, I did not. I was not able to get any of those Dark Knight figures. I missed out on those entirely. They never showed up in my area that I saw. If they did show up on my area, somebody bought them all before I could get a chance to get any. And I was never able to find any online for, like, you know, an affordable price. Like, because like anytime I see them online, they're like really expensive. So yeah, I was unable to get this guy, and I really wanted the Bane figure. Bane was probably I would say, as far as like the figures that in ranking of them in terms of order, would have been probably Joker, Bane, Batman, Two-Face, Scarecrow. Because I'm not like too huge of a fan of the straight jacket look for Scarecrow. I like him better in the suit, actually. And they put out the suit version of Scarecrow later, so it's like, cool, I was able to get him. Was able to get Scarecrow. Was able to get the Batman Begins Christian Bale Batman. And finally here recently was able to get the Joker and Bane. So that means Two-Face is like the only one of those I kind of feel like I have to get at this point. So I'm going to try. I haven't looked yet, but I'm going to see if maybe I can get Two-Face for like a good price. He seems like he's one of the more affordable ones to me anyway, from what I'd seen. But who knows how much it is now? Like maybe Joker's actually gone down a little bit since they've got a new release of him, and not as many people are having to try to get that older one. But yeah, he's got solid fists on the figure, and then the extra hands that he comes with are he comes with this sort of grappling looking hand. That's pretty cool. And then he comes with this hand, which looks kind of like a pointing hand, but it could probably also hold a gun like a trigger finger. I got one of Deathstroke's guns over here. So let's see. We'll put the Deathstroke gun in his hand and see how that looks. Yeah, so he can hold a gun pretty well. Pretty well. It's not perfectly to hold a gun, but if you really want him to hold a gun, it'll fit. It seems like it kind of holds it at kind of a downward angle, but I think it's supposed to be more kind of like a loose pointing hand anyway. So there's that. And then these two hands I think are pretty interesting. Like they're both kind of pointing hands, but they have like the fingers pointed in, and like two fingers pointed out and two fingers pointed in. And I think these are made to be hands that kind of like rest on his vest straps, like he tended to do in the movie. Max James of Toys asked, "Do you like the Blockies DC?" I don't have any. But you know, like I already buy so much stuff as it is. But I don't think I've seen any in the stores either. Like they might just not be in the area where I'm looking. Those seem like they'd be the sort of thing they'd probably have in like the electronics section of Target, if anything. Like if I was to see them at retail. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation on this guy. So Bane can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. He's got that Mcfarlane kind of butterfly joint there with the spacer and everything, so you get some wiggle room there. Bane's arms raise up to the sides about that far. He can, getting ahead of myself. He's got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows, so that's pretty good. He's got the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, so you can move these wrists around pretty much any which way you want to. So they rotate all the way around where the wrist meets the forearm, and rotate all the way around where the wrist meets the hand. So although it does seem like it's a little stiff on mine, so I'm not wanting to move it around too much, but I'm pretty sure I can fix that with a hairdryer later. But I definitely do not want to break my Bane figure, because that would be bad. Never force your action figure joints, folks. If gentle coaxing doesn't do it, and I mean gentle coaxing, get yourself a hairdryer or hold it in some warm water for a little bit. But yeah, where the wrist joint on this one meets the forearm is very, very stiff. Like you can even hear how stiff that is. So I'm not wanting to move that around too much as it is. Probably what I'm going to do later is heat up the forearm and just pull the entire joint out entirely and then stick it back in. And then usually that will loosen it up a bit, and then it should move normally. Now, Bane's torso articulation, like I pointed out before, this is kind of hollow underneath where his abdominals are. It's just kind of a soft plastic vest. You can see like how that pinches in like that. Soft plastic vest, and then the soft plastic trunks where the pants kind of fit up underneath. Like I think you can just kind of barely see where the edge of the top of the pants is there. And it looks like they this is where the pants actually end. Like what's supposed to be his pants. And when I'm talking about the actual trunk piece, though, extends. It's like a little bit like, almost looks like an undershirt there, which I don't think he's supposed to be wearing an undershirt actually, but I guess they didn't want to paint it a different color, so just sculpt it to look like an undershirt. But yeah, on the back it's kind of the same thing. You can kind of see a little bit of undershirt there, but they kind of overlap over each other, and there's no actual ab piece underneath. So, but that's pretty typical of something like this. But he can move from side to side about that far, backwards and forwards about that far, and then that rotates all the way around. Bane can kick up about that far. So there we go. Not quite 90 degrees. And then he can do the splits, no problem. There we go. It does kind of pinching the trunks where it looks kind of funny. From the back, it looks really funny. You can see like it kind of wrinkles up like that. And let's see. It looks like he's got a little bit of flecks of paint from something that got stuck on the seat of his pants over here at the side, but I was able to scratch it off. It's cool. All right. Now I know where Sergeant Rock's legs came from. Okay, so I didn't have the Sergeant Rock figure. I've talked before about how I don't have the Sergeant Rock figure. I didn't buy it because he didn't come with any guns, and I thought that was ridiculous. And I didn't feel like the Sergeant Rock figure captured the look of the character from the Joe Kubert comic book. So then I'm like, it's kind of pointless. And he had those knee pads on his pants, which looked way too modern. And I'm like, I'm sure they reused these knee pads from something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And it's Bane's legs. They reused Bane's legs for Sergeant Rock. How about that? Now I recognize it. Okay. So, but those are not very World War II looking pants. So, did I talk about the double jointed knees? He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. So, and then he's got the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation. So it rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the shin, and then rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the foot. And he's got very, very shiny, very patent leather boots. Bane's foot points down about that far, and then points up about that far. And then he's got toe articulation just to show off. So yeah, now I'm kind of wondering how much of Bane is reused on Sergeant Rock. Now I'm really curious about that. Okay, now I kind of want to buy a Sergeant Rock figure just so I can compare with Bane. But I'm guessing since the legs are reused on Sergeant Rock, I'm sure of that now. Probably the whole like lower half of them with the trunks and everything. Probably everything from the waist down is reused on Sergeant Rock, and probably the arms too. At least like, you know, the entirety of the left arm and the upper part of the right arm. Probably not the glove. I don't think Sergeant Rock has gloves. I don't think they got that inaccurate. And I wouldn't be surprised if like the torso, like the upper part of the torso was reused on Sergeant Rock, and they just made like a rubber shirt piece to go over it. Max Games and Toys asked Mr. Allen, there is a new Masters Universe trailer coming tomorrow. Hell yeah, I'm excited about that. And says, you going to watch the movie? Absolutely. I'm going to go to the theater and watch the movie, which I haven't been to the theater to see a movie in a very long time. Last time I saw a movie in the theater was Nosferatu. So that ought to show how long ago that was. And I did actually really want to go see Sinners in the theater, but never got a chance to, unfortunately. I didn't get to see Sinners until just very recently, right before the Oscars, in fact. So I was pretty glad when I heard that Michael B. Jordan won the Oscar for Best Actor. Some people were saying that, like, oh, he shouldn't have won for Best Actor. And I'm like, well, no, he shouldn't have won just for Best Actor. He should have won for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor. He played he did two different performances in that movie, didn't he? He was playing two different characters. So, all right, so here's the trading card. We hadn't really looked at that yet. So, nice piece of artwork there. That was something we saw in a lot of merchandise and such. I don't remember if that was a teaser poster or not, but it might have been. I know I saw it on like t-shirts and things like that. And here's what the back of the card looks like. And it reads, Bane, The Dark Knight Rises, data file, real name unknown. His real name is just Bane. Like, he doesn't have any other name. Born and raised in the hellish prison known only as the Pit, Bane was the sworn protector of Talia al Ghul, daughter of the League of Shadows master Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, as they say in the movies here. Determined to finish her father's mission to raise Gotham City, Talia and Bane also seek revenge against the man responsible for Ra's al Ghul's death, Batman. So Max Ames and Toy says Nosferatu was a good movie. I absolutely agree. It was definitely worth going out to the theater for, and I did buy the Blu-ray. So yeah, and that's gonna become a Halloween perennial for me. I'm gonna be watching that every year around Halloween time. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in here, and then I can be ready to throw that away later. Okay, put that over there where I have the Joker box in that general vicinity. Maxime Toy says, I think many of us will miss Mcfarlane's figures. Yeah, I think so, unless he can manage to work out some kind of deal with Mattel like he was hoping to. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if he's able to. So that hand came off rather easily. This hand is kind of a little tighter for whatever reason. So I was going to put these hands on here because, like I said, I think these hands were designed to be the ones that kind of rest on his vest a little bit. On his vest straps. Let's see if I can get that kind of pose like I'm thinking is the intention of these. Ah! Yeah, there we go. No need to stand on ceremony, Bruce Wayne. Yeah, that's cool. But I think the fist hands are going to be the ones that are gonna stay on here. His spade, his ferocity. That's the power of belief. Yeah, there we go. I really liked the way that they did Bane in the movie. Like, I thought they did a good job with him, even without the venom and everything. Like, kind of the core of the character, I felt like was still there, and he was still the man who broke the bat. And I think Tom Hardy's performance was just a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed I know a lot of people again said that his voice was goofy, but like I said, I kind of feel like that wasn't a bug, that was a feature. Like, his voice is supposed to be kind of goofy. Again, there's like an unpretentiousness to Bane in the movie. Like, he doesn't really care if you think he's goofy. It doesn't matter to him at all. Bane just is what he is. And if you don't like it, he'll just kill you. he'll just tickle you to death or something. I don't whatever he wound up doing to Daggett in that movie. Like, that was a part that was just so creepy where he's like talking about, I paid you a lot of money. You think this gives you power over me? And he's like caressing his face. It's like, nah, man, you're my bitch. I don't think you know how this works. Maxime Zatoy says, happy birthday, by the way. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So, yeah, this is a great figure. I'm really happy with how he turned out. A lot of good paint detail to him. A lot of good sculpting. Like, back in the day, like, Mattel was never really able to give me a Bane figure that I thought was really great. Like, the Movie Masters Bane, they had one that had the jacket sculpted onto him, and they had one that had no shirt whatsoever, like a completely topless Bane. And they never did a Movie Masters figure where it was just this version of Bane, which is what I consider kind of the default Bane. He had a lot of different looks in the movie, but this is the one where I kind of feel like this is the closest to the classic Bane. You know what I mean? And then they did that really awful 3 3/4 inch version, which, granted, it's a 3 3/4 inch 5-point of articulation figure, so it's not going to have great articulation to begin with. But just the way that figure was sculpted, it was almost like the person sculpting it was like, how can I sculpt this so the articulation is the least optimal articulation that you could not get a good pose out of that figure to save your life. And it's even the most basic Star Wars figure from the 70s or 80s, Like, you could at least get it into like you could just be standing there and it looks fine. You could at least get it into some kind of decent rudimentary, pointing a gun at somebody pose. But that Bane figure was just useless. Like, this guy here, this old Batman the Animated Series figure, he's a 5-point of articulation figure too. But I can get some good poses out of him. Like, I can still make it look like he's punching somebody. So that kind of thing. But that Bane figure was just, that was awful. So I never really had, like, not only I just never had a movie Bane figure that I thought was worth a damn, honestly. Like, because I never had either of the movie Master figures, and that 3 3/4 inch figure was just terrible. So the best movie Bane figure, and it's not even really a movie, like a Dark Knight Rises Bane figure, was the Lego Batman movie, like their version of Bane. And that one was definitely the Dark Knight Rises, like inspired by that version. Like, he had the Tom Hardy voice and everything, and like he looked like that version of the character. And I loved that it was one of the big figs, so I thought they did a really good job with it. And of course, I have the Dark Knight Rises Lego set that they put out with the Bane mobile, and mine, the way I had him I don't have it displayed right now because it's kind of a lot of my stuff's packed up in storage still. But I had him on my shelf with the little Bane minifigure on there, and I found like a little Lego brick that looks like a letter. So he's holding the letter like he's in front of the prison, standing on his tumbler with Gordon's letter. Max Games and Toy says that Batman looks amazing. You mean this one? Yeah, they did a really good job with this one. It's kind of funny because I think they did reuse some of the parts from the Dark Knight Batman. Like, you can see that there's like some texture on his calves above the boots there, and you can I'm pretty sure that the shoulder pieces are reused from the Dark Knight armor because you can see that kind of texture on there. So I think they were trying to save a little bit of money by reusing some of those Dark Knight pieces, but I don't think it hurts the figure too much. I think it actually looks really cool. I think it adds a little bit more depth to it. It's kind of like somewhere in between. Like, you could imagine this being it wasn't in the movie that way, obviously. He just went straight to the new suit. But you can imagine this being like kind of a transitional suit where Lucius made him some of the new parts and he incorporated them onto the old suit. You can kind of imagine it as being like that. Max Stevens says sometimes companies try so hard to make their figures look like real people that the result falls short and feels strange. Yeah, I think that's what we call the uncanny valley. I think it's kind of one of those things. But they did a good job with this one. I think this is a good representation of this version of the character. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode. I think that's everything I have to say about Bane. Great figure, definitely worth picking up. So try to pick him up if you can. If you're collecting Batman villains, he's definitely a good one to have. So next episode, I'm going to be back with something. I haven't decided exactly what yet. I know I've got a lot more Masters of the Universe to go over. I've got some G.I. Joe to go over. I've still got more DC stuff. So I was thinking maybe I might try to do the Clawful figures that I have to open up this week. We'll see if I've got time to do that. But I've got 3 figures of Clawful. I've got the standard Origins version of Clawful, which is based on the vintage toy, and I've got the cartoon collection Clawful based on the 2000X version of Clawful. And then I have the Masterverse version of Clawful. Now, previously, I guess it would have been about a year ago now, I had opened up the Filmation cartoon collection Clawful. And that is my absolute favorite version of the character. But is it my favorite design of the character? I guess we're going to find out once I get him opened up, get the rest of these opened up. I do really like the 2000X design. I will say that. But I don't like that version of the character as much, but that'll be something to discuss when we open up the definitely I like the Filmation version of Clawful best. Oddly enough, for being like kind of the goofiest version of He-Man in general, I mean that in a good way. I love Filmation. It's probably like the least goofy version of Clawful. And 2000X, which is one I think that tried to take it a little more seriously than Filmation took it, gave us like the goofiest version of Clawful, ironically enough. Max Games of Toy says, bro, that Godzilla behind you really got me. Yeah, I love the Godzilla. They did a good job with him. So I'm going to give a better look at that. But yeah, that's that one that came in the 2-pack with Superman, where like I swapped out the head for the Christopher Reeve head because I hated the head on the Superman figure. It's a great Superman figure from the neck down. Maybe a perfect Superman figure from the neck down, but the head was just it was awful. So so I put the extra Christopher Reeve head on there, and now he looks awesome. So from awful to awesome with a simple head swap. Max Games and Toys says 2000X is my favorite. Yeah, like I know you're a huge fan of 2000X, which is why I mentioned that, because like 2000X was awesome. I loved 2000X. I thought that was a great show. But they did do like Clawful kind of like I'll talk more about that in the episode. But yeah, like 2000X Clawful and Filmation Clawful are practically two entirely different characters. So I can imagine them both coexisting in the same universe. They're that different, and they're just two of Skeletor's henchmen who both happen to be like crustacean people and both happen to be named Clawful, but that's where the similarity ends. And I could see them both working for Skeletor at the same time, and like people just be like, Clawful, that guy's an idiot. What? No, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh no, not you, the other Clawful. Like we'll talk more about that like when we get to that episode. But that's it for this episode with the Dark Knight Rises version of Bane. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this version of Bane, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And if you made it this far in the movie, leave a comment and let me know what you think of Tom Hardy's Bane voice and if you can do a decent impersonation of it. So, but definitely like and subscribe. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe, so I like to say like and subscribe. Leave a comment, because I like it when you leave comments. That's always a lot of fun for me. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.